When those red and blue lights flashed behind me, I thought it was just a routine stop. But the man who got out wasn't a cop. I've done plenty of late-night drives, enough to know the highway feels different after midnight. Quieter, heavier, like the road itself is waiting for something to happen. One night last fall, I was headed east on Highway 74 after finishing a delivery. The road stretched flat for miles. No billboards, no glow from towns, just open blacktop and the steady hum of my engine. The dashboard clock slid past 2:15 a.m. when I noticed headlights gaining on me. At first, I didn't think much of it. Trucks, commuters, graveyard shift workers, we all share the road. But as the car closed in, two colors cut through the dark. Red and blue. They flashed once, then again. The universal signal, pull over. My stomach dropped. I wasn't speeding, I wasn't swerving. But reflex is reflex. I eased onto the shoulder. Hazards blinking in the night. The vehicle pulled in behind me. Lights strobed against the trees, painting the inside of my car in pulsing shadows. I killed the engine and rolled the window down. My license was already in my hand when I checked the side mirror. That's when I noticed the first wrong detail. It wasn't a cruiser. It was a dark SUV, no markings, no spotlight mounted on the mirror. Just a small light bar sitting low on the dash, blinking red and blue. A door opened. Boots crunched gravel. The man who stepped out wore dark jeans and a black jacket. No reflective vest, no badge, no hat. He walked slowly, hands in his pockets, head tilted slightly down. Every cop I've ever seen on a highway stop carries a flashlight. They shine it before they even reach your car. But this man's hands stayed tucked away. I sat still. My pulse thumped in my ears. He stopped just a few feet from my window. His face was half in shadow, but I caught the outline. Mid-40s, maybe, beard stubble, hair a little too long for regulation. "Evening," he said, flat tone, rehearsed. "License and registration." I held my license out through the open window. He didn't take it, didn't even lean forward, just stared, like he was waiting for me to do something else. That was wrong, detail number 2. Real cops don't hesitate. They take your info, ask questions, keep it moving. This man just lingered. Then he smiled. Not friendly, tight, like he was pleased with a private joke. "Most people just stop without asking," he said. Quiet, almost too quiet to catch. Something cold crept up the back of my neck. I remembered advice I'd once heard. If you feel unsafe during a traffic stop, you can request a marked location. "I'd feel better pulling off at the next truck stop," I said, keeping my voice even. "It's just a few miles." He tilted his head slightly, weighing me. That tight smile never moved. "Suit yourself." I rolled the window up halfway, started the car, and eased back onto the asphalt. In my mirror, the SUV merged behind me, 100 yards back. Headlights steady. Red and blue lights dark now. The next 10 miles felt like a tunnel with only 2 cars in it. No taillights ahead. No oncoming traffic. Just me, the black road, and that SUV. Every time I pushed the gas, his headlights floated closer. Every time I tapped the brakes, he slid back the exact same distance. Not chasing, not passing, just holding me in a perfect pocket. Like he wanted me to know I wasn't alone. At one point, I slowed almost to a crawl, daring him to pass. He slowed with me, perfectly, headlights steady, like a hunter waiting for me to make the wrong move. I grabbed my phone, tried dialing 911. The signal bar flickered between 1 bar and nothing. The call failed before it even rang. Dead stretch of highway. No one else. Just him and me. My brain wouldn't stop asking the same question. If I pulled over again, what would he actually do? Rob me? Drag me out? Something worse? Finally, light. Neon cut through the dark ahead. The truck stopped, a splash of color after a long, empty stretch. I signaled early, slid into the exit lane, and kept one eye on the mirror. The SUV lingered another mile. Then, right before the ramp, it slowed. I watched it drift back into the through lane, headlights steady. It glided past the exit and shrank in the mirror until the red taillights dissolved into the black. Under the truck stop's floodlights, the world felt real again. I parked near the doors and sat with my hands locked on the wheel. Through the glass, I saw bright aisles, neon buzzing, a couple of truckers joking near the coffee machines. Normal life. When I stepped out, cool air hit my face and my shoulders finally dropped. Still. When I glanced toward the far corner of the lot, the part the lights didn't reach, I swore I felt eyes on me. Nothing moved, just shadows, but my gut wouldn't calm down. Inside, I walked the aisles, grabbed a bottle of water, listened to the ding of the glass door opening and closing. Every sound reminded me how close I'd come to stopping alone on that shoulder. The next afternoon, I told a trooper at a way station. He listened carefully, nodding. "We don't use unmarked SUVs for stops out there," he said. "Not at night, not alone. If it happens again, keep moving until you're somewhere lit. Don't stop unless you see the badge." Later, at a diner, the overnight waitress confirmed the same. "Other drivers have said it too," she told me. "Unmarked cars pulling people over, especially truckers. Nobody knows who they are." A few days later, I saw a short piece on the news. Reports of suspicious vehicles with unauthorized light bars. No arrests, just warnings. Weeks have passed. But when I drive at night and see headlights in my mirror, my chest still tightens until I know they're normal. The scariest part isn't that it happened once. It's that it could happen again. Anytime. To anyone. Because sometimes the scariest thing on a dark highway isn't the road itself. It's the person who decides you're their next stop. Now I only trust the lights when I see the badge too. I checked my mirror once, twice, 3 times. That car never moved. And it never left my blind spot. I'd been driving long enough to know the rhythm of a highway. Cars pass, headlights fade, lanes shift. It's a constant dance of motion. But one night last winter, the dance went wrong. It was close to midnight on Interstate 64. I'd just fueled up at a truck stop outside of town, heading east through a mostly rural stretch. Traffic was light, just a handful of semis rolling in the right lane, and the occasional sedan passing through. My playlist droned quietly, and the yellow lines flicked by in steady rhythm. About 15 minutes in, I noticed a car merge onto the highway from an on-ramp ahead. White sedan, older model. It slid smoothly into my lane, then drifted into the left, right alongside me. At first, nothing unusual, but then it stayed. Not behind me, not fully ahead, just locked at the edge of my peripheral vision, perfectly placed, in my blind spot. I switched lanes once, easing into the right. The sedan mirrored me, sliding the same direction, never accelerating, never falling back. I slowed down a little. It slowed too. When I sped up, its headlights surged forward, keeping pace, but never overtaking. For the next 10 miles, that car clung to me like a shadow. Every glance into my side mirror showed the same slice of silver bumper, and a glowing headlight hovering in the exact same spot. My shoulders tightened, and my eyes started to sting from checking the mirrors too often. I told myself I was imagining it, that maybe the driver was just zoning out. But deep down, I knew better. At mile marker 211, I made a sharper move. I flicked on my blinker and darted across 2 lanes, letting my engine rev louder than usual. The sedan should have fallen back, or surged ahead. Instead, it slid into the lane right beside me again, landing back in that blind spot with eerie precision. That's when I knew this wasn't random. A few minutes later, a semi-truck rumbled up in the right lane. My pulse leapt. Maybe I could use it. I inched closer, letting the semi's bulk rise between us like a shield. For a moment, the sedan's headlights disappeared completely. I almost felt relief until I noticed them peek out just behind the trailer's edge, sliding neatly into the only sliver of space where it could remain hidden from me. No matter what I tried, it wouldn't break position. My stomach tightened. I grabbed my phone and thought about calling 911, but the screen showed one shaky bar. The call would drop before I got a word out. And even if it didn't, what would I say? There's a car driving too perfectly? The highway stretched on emptier than ever. No trucks ahead now, no taillights behind. Just 2 cars locked together on a road that suddenly felt endless. I tried to rationalize. Maybe the other driver didn't realize what they were doing. Maybe they were just nervous. But when I drifted slightly to the right shoulder, the sedan nudged closer, like it was hurting me. When I backed off to 60, it hung back just enough to stay level. At one point, I swore I saw the driver's silhouette tilt slightly toward me, as if watching. My palms slipped on the steering wheel. My jaw hurt from clenching. I caught myself wondering, if I pulled over right now, what would happen? Finally, a green sign promised a rest area 2 miles ahead. I signaled early, easing toward the right lane. The sedan didn't budge. Half a mile later, I cut sharper, committing to the off-ramp. My tires hummed over the divider grooves as I slowed. The sedan stayed on the main highway. For the first time in nearly half an hour, its headlights faded from view. Relief hit me so hard, I laughed out loud, shaky, half-crazed. The lot was nearly empty. One semi idled near the back, its engine a constant low growl. A row of vending machines buzzed under flickering fluorescent lights, one bulb stuttering every few seconds. I parked under the brightest lamp and sat there a minute before stepping out. My arms felt heavy, muscles stiff from gripping the wheel too tight. As I stretched, the world felt almost too normal. The hum of a soda machine, the distant hiss of an automatic door. And yet, standing there, I couldn't stop scanning the tree line, convinced a pair of headlights might reappear. I stared out toward the highway in the distance, waiting for that white sedan to loop back. Nothing came. Still, my chest wouldn't loosen. When I finally got back in the car and pulled out, I forced myself not to look in the mirrors for the first mile. But old habits die hard. I checked once, twice, and on the third glance, I swore I saw a faint glow of white far back on the interstate, like a lone pair of headlights keeping pace. I blinked hard, and it was gone. Maybe it was just another car. Maybe it was nothing at all. But the knot in my stomach stayed tied until dawn. The next morning, I stopped at a diner. Over coffee, I told the waitress what happened, trying to make it sound like a weird highway story. Her expression hardened. "White sedan?" she asked. I nodded slowly. "You're not the first. Couple months back, a trucker rolled through here, swearing the same thing. Said the car stuck in his blind spot all the way through the hills. He tried to shake it, but it kept coming. Then, there was an accident. Jack knifed his rig. Police said maybe he overcorrected. I frowned. What about the sedan? She just shook her head. Gone before they got there. I've driven that stretch again since then. In daylight, with traffic around, it's just another road. But at night, every time I catch headlights lingering too long in the corner of my eye, I feel the same ice climb my spine. Because once you've been marked like that, you know. Highways aren't just about speed and distance. They're about trust. That the strangers around you are playing by the same rules. But the night I met that car, I realized sometimes the scariest thing on a highway isn't an accident waiting to happen. It's the driver who makes sure it does. Not every danger on the road comes at you head on. Some ride silently in your blind spot until it's too late. They looked like headlights, but no matter how far I drove, they never came any closer. I've been on night highways more times than I can count, but this one trip still unsettles me. Not because of anything supernatural, at least not in the obvious sense, but because sometimes the things you see at night don't make sense, and the not knowing is what eats at you. It happened in late October on Highway 42, a 2-lane rural stretch cutting through farmland and hills. I'd taken this route dozens of times during the day, but never past midnight. It was just after 1 a.m. when I passed the last gas station and realized I had close to 40 miles of nothing until the next town. The road was empty. No cars behind me, no taillights ahead. Just my headlights carving a tunnel of white through the dark. The only sounds were the steady hum of the tires and the faint rattle of loose coins in the cup holder. About 20 minutes in, I saw them. 2 small points of light far ahead, hovering low to the ground. Headlights, but something about them felt wrong. They weren't moving closer, the way oncoming traffic normally would. They just stayed out there, fixed in the distance like a pair of eyes watching me. I leaned forward, gripping the wheel tighter. The road was dead straight for at least a mile, and the lights didn't change size, didn't shift left or right. If they belonged to a car, that car wasn't moving. I slowed from 65 to 55. The lights stayed exactly where they were. A few minutes later, the road curved slightly uphill. I thought the angle would reveal what I was looking at. Instead, the lights seemed to drift with me, keeping their position. I passed mile marker 108, then 109. They never moved. My shoulders tightened, my eyes burned from staring. Every instinct told me this wasn't normal. I flicked on the high beams, hoping to illuminate something, but the lights remained just outside the reach of my vision. That's when I started noticing other things. The coins in the cup holder rattled harder than before, as if someone was tapping them in rhythm with the tires. My eyes caught flickers of motion, like the lights shifted to the left lane. But when I blinked, they were fixed dead center again, and I was tired. Bone tired. My eyes were dry, lids heavy. Once or twice I blinked too long, the kind of blink that borders on a micro-sleep. Each time I snapped back awake, the first thing I saw was those lights, still fixed ahead, like they'd been waiting for me. Time itself began to feel wrong. I swore I'd been staring for 15 minutes straight. But when I glanced at the dashboard clock, only 3 minutes had passed. At mile 112, I got my first real test. The road dipped into a valley and then rose again in a long incline. If the lights were stationary, I'd pass them at the bottom. But as I descended, the points of light dipped too, as if glued to my windshield. By the time I crested the next hill, the lights were still there. Same distance, same glow. It was like chasing a mirage. Relief came briefly when a pair of headlights appeared in my mirror. A car approaching from behind. Steady and normal. Proof I wasn't imagining everything. But then dread hit me. If another driver was behind me, shouldn't they see what I saw up ahead? I kept glancing back. The car drew closer, closer. Then, without hesitation, it took the next exit ramp, disappearing into the dark. No reaction to the lights at all. I was alone again. Not long after, I spotted a sign for a rest area 2 miles ahead. My first instinct was to pull off, shake this feeling, maybe splash some water on my face. As I drew closer, I slowed slightly, eyeing the ramp. But then I checked my mirror. The lights in the distance seemed to lean, as if angling toward the same exit. My heart jumped into my throat. And then faintly, I thought I heard it. The low growl of an engine somewhere behind the trees, even though the only thing moving was the wind. I whipped my eyes side to side, nothing but grass and branches swaying. That was enough. I hit the gas, flying past the rest area sign, refusing to look again until the road stretched empty ahead. Finally, around mile marker 116, I pulled to the shoulder. Gravel crunched beneath my tires. I sat there, engine idling, staring out at the impossible lights. I shut off my headlights. Darkness swallowed everything, yet the points still hovered faintly in the distance. That was enough. I threw the car into drive and sped forward, forcing myself to keep my eyes down on the painted white lines. I didn't glance up until 5 minutes later, and when I did, the lights were gone. Morning couldn't come fast enough. I stopped at a diner just off the highway, still shaken. While paying for coffee, I mentioned it casually to the waitress. She froze. "You saw them too?" I blinked. "The lights?" She nodded. "The wrong way headlights. Truckers talk about them. Always past mile 110. Been stories for years." My skin prickled. "Stories like what?" She lowered her voice. "Early 2000s, head-on collision. Driver fell asleep, crossed the center line. Both cars burned up. Nobody made it out." I tried to brush it off. "So, just urban legends?" She leaned in closer. "One trucker swore he drove toward them once. Said when he got close, the car was nothing but a charred shell, rolling without a driver. And there's a rumor. If you drive long enough, if the lights finally reach you, you'll see a car upside down, still coming at you." Her words left me cold. I left the diner with my coffee, trying to convince myself it was just tricks of the road, maybe reflections, maybe fatigue. But deep down, I knew better. Because there was one thing I hadn't told her. When I passed the shoulder and forced myself to glance forward again, the lights blinked. Just once. Bright, like high beams flashing. Then they vanished. Not every light on the highway means safety. Sometimes the headlights ahead aren't coming toward you. They're waiting. And now, every time I see a distant pair on a dark road, I wait to see if they move. Because if they don't, maybe I'm still chasing the same ones I saw that night.